Hello, welcome to Not Dead Yet Album Swap. I'm Dan.
I'm Lee.
And this is a thing where every week Lee suggests an album to me and I suggest an album to Lee, and then we go away and we listen to them and then we come back and report what we thought about that album. So last week, what did I give you?
You gave me
Bibio Ambivalance Avenue.
That's it.
And you gave me
Pantera Far Beyond Driven.
So I'm going to go first. Now, I'm not a big metal fan. And Lee, you're a bigger metal fan than I am.
Yeah. I like metal.
It took you years to convince me to listen to Metallica.
Yep.
And in fact, it wasn't you that eventually did manage to convince me, it was someone else.
Okay.
But
this is their opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, she's quite cute. So.
Oh, fair enough.
And she's cuter than you. So I did listen to that, and now I do like Metallica.
Yeah.
Up until before the Black Album, and
That's-
then I don't like Metallica.
That's generally what a lot of people.
Yeah, and I didn't like Metallica because of the Black Album. Yeah,
That's generally where Metallica fans are split. There's Metallica fans that like the stuff before.
Okay.
And
Right. So yeah, I don't like stuff after. Anyway, so this album, before I listened to it, I don't know why. I think I was thinking about a revenge attack for you and looking at gangster rap lyrics.
Right.
And then I thought I'd look at the I keep wanting to call them Sepultura, Pantera lyrics.
Yeah.
And that did not make me want to listen to that album anymore, I have to be honest. They're pretty awful. So I listened to this album, I was expecting
the worst
horridness. And it's not that awful.
Okay.
I listened to it maybe 3 times. If anything, I found it a little boring.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of that singing style at all.
No, it's quite intense.
But do you know what it really reminded me of? A much heavier Soundgarden.
Soundgarden would have been
In terms of the way their
That sort of-
riffs are,
Yeah.
and the melodies of their riffs. I could hear a lot of Soundgarden there. Now, who comes first?
I'm going to say they were a similar time. I think.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're like early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
That's in that album would have been
Yeah.
like early mid 90s.
So, I found it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it and was expecting to go, oh God, this is too much, but it wasn't at all. I'm not a fan of the singing style, and
What do you think musically? Because it kind of does chop and change a few different things, kind of going
but not
on.
enough though.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Like, one of my big problems with metal is the drumming.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That beat, because I grew up listening to hip hop, which is jazz based, so it's a lot of offbeat and a swing to the rhythm.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have that, and that's always been a stumbling block for me with metal.
Right.
So that wasn't intolerable here, but yeah, musically, I don't know. I just didn't find it very adventurous.
Okay.
And maybe that's because it's old.
Yeah.
Now.
I think a lot of
But I'm comparing. You know, if you think about what my experience of metal is. You know, I love Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
This is nothing in comparison to Master of Puppets.
That's like one of the peak albums.
Yeah,
for metal,
I mean, this is just nowhere near it.
No.
So what do you think about it?
I mean, there's a groove to it. I think, you know, I like it. You know, it's not an album I've listened to 100 times.
Yeah.
It's an album I used to listen to, and then I kind of like didn't listen to for a long time, and I kind of come back to listen to again fairly recently. I think, like with a lot of metal, there is a certain monotonous sort of repeating, and I think with this album, I do think that there's this, as the album starts, it is very like your metal as you know it today.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of breaks off into some kind of interesting kind of like groovier moments that a lot of metal doesn't. Now, I think the thing with metal as well is that these kind of albums were landmarks for their period in time. So with you can go the origins of metal are kind of all based on, it depends what your opinion was. Some people say the first metal song was "You Really Got Me" by the Kinks. Some people say it's "Summertime Blues" by Blue Cheer,
right,
covering the Eddie Cochran song. I mean, the first metal band, as people consider it, would be say Black Sabbath, that weren't metal; they were hard rock.
Yeah.
So the kind of you look at each of those, and each time it gets heavier. Each time it gets a
Yeah,
little
of
more.
course.
So
Yeah.
obviously, so Metallica came along in the late 80s, along with kind of Anthrax and Slayer, and just doing like this thrash metal.
Yeah.
Which then that was a combination of being influenced by the likes of Iron Maiden, or Iron Maiden even they kind of brought this kind of like a punk element. So it's, they've listened to like your Sabbaths and people like that, and then they listen to punk. So Sex Pistols meets Sabbath,
right?
Meets your Stiltskins or your Deep Purple, if you like, and then they kind of formed this new this faster metal. That's when metal started getting built up in pace, and so like Metallica came along and kind of like broke those boundaries, and then I think kind of Pantera, Sepultura came along and made this kind of groovier sort of kind of what metal as we know it today, probably.
Okay,
as you define metal today.
All right. I mean, I get what you're saying there, and I appreciate it, but I found it a little. I don't want to be too damning of it because I'm not well equipped enough to say, but I found it a little simplistic.
Okay.
Certainly compared to Master of Puppets,
yeah.
I found this to be a bit simplistic.
I mean, there are like Puppets is like far superior.
Yeah, okay.
Like, that is,
maybe I'm being spoiled by that then.
Yeah,
but I think my overall thing was I expected to really, really hate it, and I just found it a bit boring.
Okay, it's better than I expected.
Yeah. And lyrically, just awful.
Yeah.
They do not seem like nice people.
I have not read too much into lyrics. I listen to more the music.
I'm normally like
that.
It's just by an accident that I actually read the lyrics, and the lyrics that I could understand didn't make me think, yeah, you're all right.
I like you.
Yeah. So so I'm expecting.
Right, okay.
I'm expecting that you were bored shitless by this album. So go for it. How did you?
Why do you think that as well? Just think you may be right, but like.
I think that there are some meandering sections of songs on this album which I quite like, but I'm not sure that will be up your street, up your avenue.
Up my avenue, up my alley.
Up your alley.
Up my alley. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I struggled with it. Not even struggled with it. It felt more of a compilation than an album.
Yeah, it wanders about quite a bit.
Like cohesive. Now I think what I want to do with this album, I liked it. I actually did like it. I want to break it down, and I want to maybe listen to a couple of tracks in a playlist with other music.
Okay.
And then I think I'm going to build the album from there because I found it really weird. It was quite eclectic.
Yeah,
and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. There was kind of moments where it was kind of Celtic folk. And then there were moments where it was kind of jazzy and electronic and smooth. And then there were moments that sounded like even like the Beach Boys.
Right, yeah.
Like the harmonies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I was listening to a band from maybe the 80s. No, 90s because of the electronic in it. Or a band that just released their first debut record.
Right, okay.
Like it's completely current.
Yeah.
So I have no knowledge of their time frame. It felt like a compilation more than it felt like a studio album, if you like. But I like that. I thought that was really good. Which meant that every time I listened to it, I found something different about it. Every time I listened to it, I found that I hadn't noticed that before. And which, because of that, kind of made me forget some of the other songs that I were a little bit maybe more. I probably listened to about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Maybe I listened to the whole album probably like 3 times.
Yeah.
But I listened to
tracks.
I listened to like half the album probably 6 times
because
just 2 of them work.
Yeah.
And I did really like it, but I kind of kept forgetting about previous tracks, and every time I picked out something new. So every time I kind of, when I listened to it, and I can only pick out the Celtic sort of folk thing, and then it's like, it sounds like a really cool indie electro band that Fact would cover. And then it was just like, that kind of reminded me of the Beach Boys. Like, just there's a couple of just moments.
Yeah.
So I kind of
it's a real mixed bag. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I love it. But
it's great. I do like it. I like it. And like, whereas before I said, I think I can, like, I think with LP I said I could go back and if I listen to each song individually, then I think I'll end up liking the album. I think with this, I need to listen to 7 songs together just to give those songs a chance.
Okay, right,
because I don't think, like, just listen to the album, I get everything out of it that I want to get out of it.
Okay.
But I'm really fascinated by it, and I'm really intrigued.
Let's have a look. I'm pretty sure that Bibio is one dude.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
I mean, that would make sense in terms of what you were saying about it feeling like a compilation more than a studio
like
album.
a Beck type artist. Okay, Warp. That makes sense. It's on Warp. I mean, I got the impression like
it's one guy.
I got the impression that even though it's like not anything like Beck, that it's that sort of character that just has all these ideas and he wanders.
Yeah,
and he's just going, I'm just going to do what I want.
Experimenting with different sounds and styles and textures and stuff like that.
I would not have guessed he's from Wolverhampton.
Well, there you go.
I would not have guessed that. I thought it was American.
I thought he was Welsh, but just because of one of the vocal samples on there,
Oh,
the little
really?
kids at the beginning of Fire Ant,
Right.
where they're kind of like screaming about fire ants.
Yeah,
they sound Welsh.
It's great. I really, really want to go back and give him more chance because I really enjoyed it.
I'm surprised by that. I did genuinely think that you were going to be really bored by that. I think largely for that reason as well, that there's some like, it meanders around the place, but also that there are some songs that really just kind of sit in a groove for quite a time. And
I think that's why I need to break it down. I think if anything, what I could do is maybe if I break it down into quarters.
Yeah.
And I just to get my head around it because I just found so much going on, but I enjoyed all of it.
Oh, that's good.
I really enjoyed it. It's just like I don't think I justified it with the. I think the way my brain works is that I don't know if I got the most out of it by listening to the album as a whole.
Right.
I think going back, if I was to break it down in sections and then find out which songs are my favourites from each section. And then go back, and be familiar with those. Then go back to the album. Then I think I'd enjoy the album a lot because I like these songs.
Yeah.
And then
you can start to love the
then I can kind of
the middle children.
Then appreciate the other ones, and that's the kind of how I felt with it. And I thought it was I enjoyed it. I was pleased.
No, that is surprising, and hopefully you feel significantly guilty for giving me Pantera. Then, yeah.
Well, that Pantera was because I thought you hadn't listened to 80s Matchbox.
Yeah.
And I panicked and I couldn't think of it.
All right, so let's line up our next week's torture. What are you going to go for? What are you going to give me, Lee?
Right. Okay. First of all, are you familiar with Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Okay. I'd like to give you the Modern Lovers debut album, The Modern Lovers.
The Modern Lovers by the Modern Lovers.
Yeah. It could come under Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers, but that's because he became more famous.
Right, okay.
I'd like to give you that.
All right. And I am going to give you... Right, let's toss the coin mentally in my head. I am not going to be as mean as I did feel like being mean to you last week. Screw it. Yeah, I'm going to give you...
that's fair enough. I can...
A Tribe Called Quest's first album, Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
So I'm slightly familiar with Tribe Called Quest, obviously, but yeah.
You'll definitely know one of the songs on here. So that's what you're going to have. And that is...
It's not got Suspicious Minds on it, is it? Is that one?
Suspicious Minds?
Yeah.
Not by Stevie Wonder? Or Elvis?
Elvis. Well, I know the Elvis version. Did Stevie Wonder do it?
I think so. No, Superstitious he did, didn't he?
He did Superstitious, yeah. Quite different.
Yeah, quite different.
Because they did Suspicious Minds, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah. But I can't go on.
Are you talking about A Tribe Called Quest?
Oh, no, I'm not.
No.
Who am I talking about?
I don't know, because Tribe Called Quest are rappers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something else.
Yeah. We have both just...
completely got...
Yeah, been thrown by one Elvis record. It was Instinctive Travels. Okay, so that's what you're going to be listening to. Right, so... I'm not going to tell you anything more about that.
No. Fine Young Cannibals, that's what I was thinking of.
Right,
that's quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, that is quite different, yeah. Okay, so that's it for this week.
Yeah,
you can follow us on @HelloNotDeadYet.
On Facebook, Hello Not Dead Yet.
The email is hellonotdeadyet@gmail.com.
And we've got a Spotify profile, which is Hello Not Dead Yet with underscores
in between the words.
In between the words.
Yeah, okay. So join in, email us if you want to suggest albums.
Yep.
And or listen along as well and tell us what you think of those albums.
Yeah.
I think so. Okay.
Cool.
All right, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.